I don't know why, but I've always been somebody who's been obsessed with note-taking apps and writing apps, even though a lot of the writing I might do in it, I never end up actually sharing. It is something that I enjoy personally. So I've tested a lot of different ones over the years, Scrivener being one, which was decent, but honestly, I just didn't get the hang of actually using it. I didn't like it or stay consistent with it. Evernote is one that I tried, which was pretty good as well. But something that I didn't like about it was how slow it was and how long it took to kind of load up the app sometimes, which is why I went back to the native Notes app for iPhones and iOS devices. That's always been kind of the go-to, right? Whatever is like the built-in notepad for your system. So that's still something that I use just because it's trusted, it's quick. They have made improvements over the years, the Notes app, where they have tags so you can organize and categorize things. They have folders so you can do that as well. And it's all backed up to the cloud. So the Notes app is still something that I actually use. But after that, I tried Notion, which Notion has become maybe the staple app for me that I use on both desktop and my mobile devices. The one problem that I have found with using Notion, and I still continue to use it despite this problem, but it's something that I hope they're going to be able to fix in the future. It's when you actually try to copy and paste text out of it, which is the point of a lot of note apps, at least for me. I might write an Instagram caption or something like that, or a text message or an email, and I might write that in my Notes app and then want to copy it and then paste it into wherever I want to paste it into. And I found that all the emojis, all the formatting, everything you might do in Notion, when you try to copy and paste it out of Notion, it doesn't really format very well. And I hope that's something that they fix in the future. But that is a big negative, which is why I wanted to find something else to double up with Notion. So I use the Notes app. I use Notion. The third addition and the final part of this stack for note-taking and writing is IA Writer. IA Writer really stood out to me because of its distraction-free vibe. It's very simple. There's not a lot of bells and whistles, but there were a couple things that I wanted to stress test it through before I stood behind it as my favorite app. So number one is cross-device compatibility. I want to be able to write something on my computer and then be able to go to my iPad or be able to go to my iPhone and still work on it on the go. Google Docs and stuff is, great for that type of thing. But IA Writer, I found, was something I wanted once I started using it on my iPad. I also had it available on the iPhone, but I had to purchase it separately on my computer. So it was $50, $49.99. And I think they've actually increased the price a little bit since I bought it for mobile and iOS devices. So that was kind of an annoying part, is having to pay extra, having to pay this one-time fee. But again, it is one time. It's not a recurring subscription like Evernote or Notion and things like that. So I found it worth it to purchase on all my devices so I could have that cross-syncing capability. And the thing I found very, very smooth with it is it's almost instantaneous. If I write something here and then I go on my iPhone and continue that thought, I can very easily do that. So that was a big plus. Number two was having a character and word counter. Titles and stuff, okay, keeping it under 50 characters is a pretty good rule of thumb. But instead of having to go to a web-based character counter type app or word counter, I wanted to be able to track this stuff as I'm writing. So IA Writer has a brilliant version of being able to do that. Number three was having the capacity to copy and paste in and out of the app. Now, this is really important. As I mentioned, Notion was not able to do this. So I wanted to make sure IA Writer could stand up to the test. And weirdly enough, it can. It's perfect when you copy and paste things out of there, which is a prime source of why I use it as a note-taking app. Number four is the fact that you can actually put emojis and all of those things in there as well, because since I like to use it on a black screen, I like to, if I have a to-do list that I wrote down, I'll put a green emoji next to it, a check mark, just so it reminds me to look at it. I put an exclamation point emoji next to that if it's really important. I'll put the, eyes emoji that's like looking at something if it's to remind me to look at something. So that pops on the screen. And if I still want to, conserve that for, let's say, a caption that I'm posting on Instagram, okay, now That's very, very easy to do. There's no hassle with that whatsoever. The next thing is how it actually syncs to the cloud. So when you are using the Notes native app for iOS, it's syncing to iCloud, which is really nice. And I think it makes it kind of quick when you go on your computer to access that stuff as well. So similarly, there's not really much change. It's still going and syncing with iCloud if you set it up that way for IA Writer, which makes it, pretty reliable for me to use long term, because that's another big thing. I don't want to invest in an app that I know I'm not going to use for a very long time and build up all my notes and everything in there. And now it's very hard to get out or preserve a lot of that information. So the three apps are the native Notes app that comes with iOS. That never fails if you want that free option and something reliable to go to and dump stuff at. So I like to put things there and revisit it from time to time. Notion, hands down, if I'm not taking some information out of Notion and pasting it somewhere else, and I'm okay with like the main sheet or template being in Notion, then I'll use that. Number 3 is IA Writer. This is typically where all of my ideas and messages and copy and everything starts. I do a lot of my journaling and all that stuff in there as well, where I start a new note. I can keep it focused on literally what I also like is, even though I have a very wide screen, as you can see, it keeps it focused in the center. So it's set up so your eyes aren't reading like this. It's kind of just looking in the center and being able to scan very quickly. I also really love the syntax situation where you can have it, cut out extraneous words and filler words. You can have it color code your nouns and verbs and things like that. So in a way, it gives me a cool coding type vibe. Like I love the fact that it looks like a coder screen in some way. And when you get into a really nice flow of typing, it functions beautifully. So making sure IA Writer functioned wonderfully on the iPad was how it started out. Then I made sure that on the phone, it was really fun to use and write. And I can see how you could even probably write a book if you really wanted to and were motivated, because it's just that fun to use, I think, on the phone. And then finally, on my laptop and computer, being able to have a word processor writer that I can really tunnel vision in on. And they also have this preview mode that is kind of cool, which you can see and, export as a PDF and see what that would look like. And so it formats everything kind of cool. But personally, I never really use that. I basically will copy and paste everything from the word processing mode. So if you're in the market for a new note-taking app or a stack to add on top of your current note-taking app, I would definitely recommend checking out IA Writer. Depending on what device you use most often, start there. So if you're using your computer to write the most often and you want it primarily there, then go ahead and try that version. Know that if you buy, let's say the one on your iPhone, that and iPad comes as a bundle. So you don't have to buy it 3 different times. You do have to buy it 2 different times though, if you want it on your iOS, like mobile phone and your iPad, and then also, your desktop app. So they also have it available for Windows and Android and all that stuff. So make sure to check that out. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, if you end up using it, make sure to let me know your thoughts. I really have had fun with it. I plan on sticking with it for a long time, which is why I shared it with you. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to subscribe. That would be greatly appreciated. But thanks for hanging out today, and I'll see you next time.